So I'm going to start this off with a little bit of a story this morning. So I woke up with a headache and throwing up. And it's weird because I've had migraines before, but this doesn't feel like a migraine. However, it definitely was a little out of the ordinary and a little unexpected this morning, right? And yet I still had to be on camera for the day job, and something told me to come out here today and talk about things. And so I think what I'll talk about today though is, well, I think I can talk about it in terms of what happened to me this morning, and it's truly focus on focus on what you can control, right? And there's really only two things you can control: your actions and your reactions, right? Which mean your actions, meaning the things that you actually decide to do, right? That you personally say, I'm doing this, right? And actually doing it, right? Your reactions are, well, to everything that happens in the world. Now, there's a saying, and I believe it to be true, that that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. And if you, and some of the stories I've read about, like survivors of the Holocaust, right? That the ones that survived and the ones that didn't, it was their mindset that how they looked at things, right? How they were able to find a way, to get through it, right? And we've all gone through things in our life, right? That we have no control over, right? There's and you have less control over life than you think, right? We talk about, okay, we don't like our governments. Oh, okay, you can vote for your governments. Well, yeah. How well has that worked out, folks, right? There's a lot of things out there that we can sort of participate in, but at the end of the day, we don't really have any control over. I mean, yeah, you can take to social media, you can record a video like I'm doing, and look, I understand what that is doing. Yes, I can record something, post something out there, but I can't control how people are going to receive it, or if anybody's going to receive it, because, all these social media algorithms out there that, driving engagement and who knows what else, right? I can't control any of that. So why should I stress about it, right? Because it affects me. Well, I can't do anything about it, right? I can only control how I react to it, right? And why would I react in a way that doesn't empower me, right? Why would I do something? Why would I, I understand that there's a lot of things out there that we all want to change on somewhat, but the fact is, what can you do, right? And I'm not saying that in a nihilistic way. I'm being totally honest, right? What can you do to take an action? Now, you might not be able to change the world, right? But you can change something about your own world, right? I can say, well, okay, I can't change I can't change the fact that a particular organization is doing things a certain way, right? But I can choose not to do business with that organization, right? Or I can limit the amount of, and I understand there's some things you may not be able to do, but you need to be honest with yourself about what you actually need, right? What is it that you're, focus on what you can control, your actions and reactions. And for some people, right, they might say, okay, well, if I can't handle it, I'm going to release it to a higher power. Well, yeah, I mean, and look, whatever you believe in or not in that regard, it doesn't matter. If you can't do anything to actually solve the problem directly, then you're not really doing anything. And having a negative reaction, right, or demanding that somebody else do something about the problem, well, no, you can't control that. I can make a demand on anybody, and they can tell me, yeah, no, I'm not doing that, right? I have no control over it. Or even if I vote for the guy that claims they're going to do X, Y, Z, there's no guarantee they're going to do X, Y, Z, right? So I can't control any of that. And so stressing out over it doesn't make any sense, right? So, I can, if I can only, if I can only control what I do and how I react to something, most of the rest of the world's problems just kind of fall away is something that I don't need to worry that much about. Now, it's not to say that you can't try to do things about it, but also be realistic in what you can do about it. And I can't go change the world by myself, but I can change my own world, right? And I can hopefully change some other, and then that might cause some other people to change their world. And before, they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. Yeah, you get this whole idea that you can do something different, right? You're not just because that's the way you've always reacted, that's the way you've always done something, that doesn't mean that's how you have to be. You can choose how to react. And I understand that takes a lot of work and is hard, but you can do it, right? We can all do this. Hell, I went through my own transformation. There's things that I've in my life that I thought were never going to change. Well, they've changed quite a bit. I mean, the last 4 years of my life have been quite an experience in that regard, right? I'd say my whole life's been turned upside down. But you can change things. Anybody can do this, right? You don't have to wait for me, right? Maybe I'm the one who helps spark you, or maybe somebody else does. I don't know. But you can change how you act and how you react to things. And you can find a way that actually, is happier. And that's what I've done. And I'm not perfect at this, right? I mean, it's an ongoing process, right? But you have to be honest with yourself and know, this is what I'm about, right? And I'm not going to put up with that, right? There's a phrase I often say, take no shit, right? Well, yeah. Well, part of that means not putting up with stuff that you just don't do that, right? It doesn't do anything for you. And if anything, it's like, don't do things that don't make you happy. I mean, that's just, it's just real simple in that regard. And I'm not saying that you can't, you have to be, you're not doing this for yourself, but yeah, you can be mindful of other people too. But the reality is, if it comes down to it, you need to look after yourself right now, at least in this world. But that's because nobody else is doing it, right? So, you have to take control of your life, folks. This is what I've done, right? And I'm not perfect at it, right? I mean, look, there's lots of things in this world that, I don't have any control over, but that's okay. I'm good, right? I can't control any of that, but I'm here having a great life, and whatever else anybody might think about that, right? Well, how I got whatever, it's like, look, you got to do your own thing, right? I got to do my thing. And, and maybe that, that's what we all need. The answers are within, right? Now, again, I don't care what your religious outlook on life is, right? It starts in here, folks. Whatever they say out there about what the divine, or if there's a divine, whatever, you got to answer that in here, folks. That's where it is. That's where the answers are. That's where the answers lie, right? They lie in here. And, and again, we could argue about which one of those, which view is correct. They're all correct to a degree, right? But they all point the same basic direction. But the reality is that the answers are in here, folks, right? Don't rely on other people. Yeah, I know we're gonna need to help each other out and stuff. But the real answers that you're looking for, they're not out there. They're in here. They're in you, right? And you can control how you act and how you react. And when you start taking control of your life, shit gets better. That's truly what it comes down to, right? So, I don't know. That's what I feel like saying today. I had a little bit. I wasn't sure what I was going to say as I was driving out here to come to this place where I'm recording. But that's what I feel like saying, right? That focus on what you can control, which means your actions and reactions. You can't control what anybody else is doing, right? And even if you planned it out and said, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and I do all the steps correctly. Right? And much less also with like my own health, right? It's like, I can do everything correct, and yet I still have a headache, and I'm still nauseous, although I feel a whole lot better now that I've got out here and said what I'm going to say, right? But this is right? I can do all of the right things and still have a result that wasn't what I expected, right? It's like the old Eagles song, what do you do when your dreams come true and it's not quite like you planned, right? Well, yeah. So you can plan to do everything correctly, and it still goes wrong, right? I mean, I can get up in the morning and whatever, and I go to work, and I didn't, might be an accident out there on the highway or something that I didn't plan for, and there's lots of things can happen that you don't plan for, but how you act, right, the things you do, and your reactions to what happens, are what's going to determine how happy you are, and so and again, whatever you believe in that regard, or if you don't believe anything, right? It still comes down to the fact that you can only control what you can control, and that is what you do, right? Your actions and reactions. Everything else is, you can't control that. So stressing out about it, and I understand that some of those things might affect you, but let's be honest about how much they actually affect you. Probably less than you think. So anyway, that's all I got to say. And, I wish everybody love and health and happiness and abundance and all of the great things that this universe has for all of us. Not just me or the chosen ones or something like that. It's a, you know, all you have to do is see, if you go out in nature, right? Go spend some time in nature. You can see that nature's got abundance everywhere. It's only this kind of this world that we've created as humans that have this lack of abundance, right? So all you got to do is go out and you see that you know, everything's got what it needs in nature. Yeah, we screw things up, and maybe we should stop doing that, right? You know, nature's pretty good at finding balance. Let's not, you know, let's not make things worse, right? That's something I could say about. But anyway, I could probably talk forever, but I think this is probably enough. But you get the idea. Focus on what you can control, which is not that much, only your actions and reactions. And the answers are in here, folks. Whatever you believe in that regard, you know what the real answers are, but you need to sit and listen and hear yourself, and not all the other noise outside, right? Because that's where you're gonna. Because yeah, when you take that time, and I can't tell you how many times I will get anxious about something, and I can return to my breath. Because maybe it's because I've actually done the work and I've connected. But yeah, it's amazing how quickly I get recentered when I take a breath and just take a moment and kind of let things settle. Right? We all get into our emotions and our feels. Yeah, the emotions are temporary, right? And I learned a long time ago not to make decisions, not to make life-changing decisions when my emotions are all over the place. So, all right. Anyway, that's probably enough of that, and we'll see you next time, whenever that is.